I've saved my progress as 5greenpineapples.ai found inside the O8 type folder. In this exercise, I'm going to show you how to spell check your document. Pretty straightforward process. It starts with you going up to the edit menu, and notice you don't have to have anything selected. If you want to spell check just a single word, you can. You can select that word using the type tool and then run the spell check. But if you want to check the entire document, don't have anything selected, go to the edit menu and choose the check spelling command, which has a keyboard shortcut of Control-I or Command-I in the Mac, which is common among a few of the Adobe applications. And that'll bring up the check spelling dialog box. It doesn't get to work right away. You have to click on the start button in order to get things started. And you can expect that a lot of words will come up as being wrong that you don't consider to be wrong. For example, in the case of my poem, one of the characters' names is Vargonimus. So I'm certainly not going to replace it with the word verminous or vulgarians or anything like that. And because I'm not sure I'm going to use the name Vargonimus very often in my fiction, I don't think I'll add it to my user dictionary either. I'll just go ahead and ignore this occurrence of the word. And his last name is Gleeden. I don't mention that again, so I'll just click ignore. Breeden, that is the word breeding with an apostrophe. Not too concerned about that. I needed to drop the G for the sake of the rhyme, so I'll click ignore. In this case, Hyundai is not in a dictionary. What in the world? Well, you know what we should do? We should click on the add button, because you know what? I might use the word Hyundai in the future. So by virtue of the fact that I clicked add, Illustrator should never bother me about the word Hyundai again. And actually, with any luck, the various Adobe applications share a custom dictionary, so Photoshop and InDesign shouldn't question that word either. Oh my gosh, Facebook, you definitely need to have that in the library. Go ahead and click on add. Vargon, that's a nickname for Vargonimus, so I don't need to worry about that. I'll click on ignore. And then finally, Attic. Well, that's a real problem. A-T-T-I-C-K, but it's like, how is that word spelled? I don't know offhand. Well, apparently it's spelled A-T-T-I-C, and maybe you knew that, but it had slipped my mind. So I'll go ahead and click on the word attic, third down in the list, and I'll click on the change button. Now, if I know I've made this mistake an awful lot inside of my document, I could click change all, but change should be good enough. My mood, psychophatic, erratic. Well, psychophatic technically is not a word, but again, for the sake of the poem, I want it in there, so I'll click ignore. Sonos. Sonos is another product. I love my Sonos. I'll go ahead and click on add to add that word. Doth is a word that Shakespeare used. I'll go ahead and click add to add it as well. And then finally is. Now, Illustrator's got mixed up because the word appears after a ... So it thinks those are periods and it thinks it should capitalize the word is. That's not true. And you know what? I can see this is the end of my document. Is your trick? I'm just going to click on the done button because everything else is perfectly fine. Now, there's one other change I want to make. I'm going to press the escape key and then press Control-Shift-A, Command-Shift-A on the Mac in order to deactivate my text. And I'm going to Control Spacebar drag around this area of my page. That's a Command Spacebar drag on the Mac. And I'm going to go ahead and select these characters of type. That is the T ... because I want to add a little bit of spacing between those characters. And I'm now going to press Control-Alt right arrow. That would be Command-Option right arrow on the Mac in order to add a little bit of tracking to those characters. Now notice I went ahead and selected the T and the 3 dots. That created a space between the T and the first dot and the second dot and the third dot, and the third dot and the I. So it's between all the selected characters and the characters after them. So that's how tracking works. I do not need to select the I because then I'd have additional space between the I and the S. All right, so I'll go ahead and press the escape key once again. Control-Shift-A, Command-Shift-A on the Mac to accept that modification. And we have now successfully spell-checked this document using Illustrator's pretty good spell-checking feature. I have to say the Adobe Spell Checker is not the best one out there. It does question a lot more words than it ought to, makes some strange suggestions sometimes, but I definitely recommend that you run a spell check at least to confirm the accuracy of your text.